Since Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, made an appearance in Iron Man 2, she's gone on to do incredible things. And since her badass introduction into the MCU, fans have been begging for an origin story to Scarlett Johansson's character. And praise to the mighty Marvel Studios for finally agreeing to put this movie out after letting us wait for 10 years. 10 years, Marvel! 10 long years. Although the movie was originally scheduled to be released during May 2020, due to the pandemic, the release has been moved to April of 2021. Now, there are a lot of great things to expect from this movie. I mean, it's a Marvel movie after all. But this entire buzz going on about the movie, we thought it'd be fun to discuss a couple things about it. Also, it's no secret that the MCU has layers and layers of underlying stories that lead to each other. And if you're not up to date, it might be hard to understand what's happening, and this can ruin your cinematic experience, and I refuse to let that happen. Not on my watch. This is Movie King here with another great video for you today. Be sure to subscribe and hit that like button because we always have amazing videos coming out. So, without any more time wasting, here are 5 things that you need to know and expect before you watch Black Widow. Number 5. The plot. Thanks to the trailer, we know that Black Widow is going to fill a lot of holes in the MCU, and it's going to be a purveyor of what's to come in the next phases of the universe. In the current timeline, Johansson's character has kicked the bucket, so this is not going to take place in the current timeline. The actors and other key personalities in the movie say that the movie is going to be set in the timeline that occurs after Captain America Civil War and before the Avengers Infinity War. There's also the factor of Budapest. Taking you back to the first Avengers movie, there is a scene during the Battle of New York where Natasha and Hawkeye make a reference to their current climate being similar to what happened in Budapest in an earlier time. That raised a lot of questions from fans, and now thankfully, after 10 years, we are finally going to get some answers. We also know that there's going to be the emergence of some cool characters and a cool villain known as Taskmaster, but more on that later. For now, the contents of the plot mainly focuses on Natasha facing some troubles and righting some wrongs from her past with the help and assistance of what seems to be her sisters and an ex-boyfriend, but I'll get to that. Sadly, thanks to Marvel's hush-hush and everything that concerns their movies, it's not really clear what the whole plot is going to be about. But thankfully, we have the Marvel comics to refer to, so you guessed it, we have a few theories. Number 4. Fake flashback scenes. Since this is an origin story, we are sure going to see a lot of flashbacks, and it's already been confirmed because we've seen footage of a younger Natasha in the Black Widow trailer. According to the comics, Black Widow was trained as a citizen of the USSR under the Black Widow Ops program, where she was taken to the Red Room facility, specifically in the Department X. There, she was trained in espionage and combat by the KGB. The comics say that she was scientifically enhanced to live longer and then brainwashed along with the other girls in the Black Widow Ops program. It is said that they arranged a sham marriage for her and implanted fake memories in her head, an example of her being a ballet dancer. And we've already seen footage of that, so there's a possibility that those are actually fake memories. According to the comics, the Widows are deployed with fake memories as a way for the USSR to retain their loyalty and make them do all sort of unsavory acts. The comics say that Romanoff eventually defected from the USSR when she discovered this, and upon finding out that the Red Room facility still exists and it was still running the same program, she decided to go against the man, not wanting what happened to her to happen to girls anymore. Classic Natasha. The reason why I bring this particular story up is because that's what the trailer suggests, so there's every tendency that this is what we're going to be seeing. And number 3, characters. Well, the cast of the movie has long been revealed, starring Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow and her sister figure Yelena Belova, who is played by Florence Berg. Yelena was also trained as a Black Widow, and Kate Shortland, director of the movie, suggested that Romanoff is actually going to hand over the Black Widow baton to her, which I'm sure is going to start a new Black Widow story. There's David Harbour. You know him, right? The guy from Stranger Things. He plays the Red Guardian, which is sort of like the Soviet version of Captain America. I guess Captain Russia just didn't sit well. Alexei Shostakov, aka the Red Guardian, is said to have also been trained by the KGB and briefly married to Natasha. This should be a pleasant reunion. There's also the mother-like figure to Natasha and Yelena, Melina Vostokov, played by Rachel Weisz. She was also trained in the Black Widow Op. Other characters include Thaddeus Ross, played by William Hurt, who many believe is going to become the Red Hulk eventually. But in this movie, he is going to play the good old Secretary of State / homicidal general. There are plenty of other characters that we cannot possibly exhaust, but I'm going to be telling you about a couple guest appearances later in the video, so stay tuned. Number 2, the nature of the villain. Although I recently only learned about Taskmaster, I can't help but picture how awesome of a villain he's going to be. We've already seen clips of Taskmaster in the trailer, and I for one am very excited to see some Taskmaster action. In the comics, Taskmaster has the ability called photographic reflexes. This means that he can accurately reproduce the action of anyone that he sees. He is like a master copycat, no pun intended, but he is literally able to mimic the fighting style, weapon use, and overall motor skills of anyone just by looking at them once. This clearly shows that he is going to be really good in combat. They say Taskmaster is a mercenary who works for people regardless of their moral codes being bad, so he is always working for criminals. The comics portray him as a recurring villain in a lot of comics, and he's been known to go after Black Widow at one time at the request of the KGB, so it's no surprise that he's showing up in this movie. The identity of this villain has not been stated yet, although the comics do say that the man under the mask is Tony Masters. But seeing that Marvel hasn't unveiled him as the guy under the mask yet, like they've been doing before with Mysterio and Thanos, it does raise a lot of questions as to who he is. Some say that it could be Hawkeye because of the bow and arrow scene in the trailer, but I don't think that makes any sense, because Hawkeye has never been known to work for the Soviet Union, and he has never been proclaimed to have photographic reflexes in the manner of Masters, and I'm not sure he likes wearing masks. Other theories suggest that it's going to be a lady under the mask, which will help portray the movie's message of gender equality more holistically. It would mean that girls can be cool villains too, and provide the perfect twist and misdirection that Marvel is always fond of creating. But either way, it's clear that Taskmaster is going to be a formidable foe, and I am definitely looking forward to the fight scenes in the movie. And number 1, guest appearances. Even though this is Romanoff's standalone film, there are speculations of some guest appearances from other heroes in the MCU. Hawkeye, played by Jeremy Renner, is likely to show face since he also made a comment about Budapest in the first Avengers movie. Also, there's a scene where Natasha was having a conversation with Loki, and she makes mention of how she got on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s radar, and how Hawkeye was sent to kill her, but he made another choice and recruited her instead. So Hawkeye might be showing up, and maybe there'll be a fight scene between Natasha and Hawkeye. We'll just have to wait and see. And of course, there is the incredible individual himself. The invincible Iron Man is speculated to make an appearance even though he is also dead in the current timeline. Robert Downey Jr. made a tweet in late 2019 saying he was back in the MCU, and since Marvel already brought a lot of characters back from the dead in the current timeline, and made a whole point of him being dead, he is more likely to make an appearance in this movie since it happened before the death of Tony Stark. Well guys, those are some things that you should know and expect before you watch Black Widow. If you like this video and you want to see more, be sure to hit the subscribe and notification icon and check out our other videos. We look forward to seeing you again. This is Movie King, signing out.